I coach people to build inner wealth so that they can be better humans and better serve other humans. That's actually the reason why. Yes, I want people to be happier and more fulfilled, but that's only a means to people serving other people. I've yet to meet someone in doing this work, paid, but also unpaid. I talk to strangers about this all the time, friends. I've yet to meet someone who doesn't want to make the world better for more people, who doesn't want to help others in some way, however small. We are social creatures. We are programmed and designed to be in community with each other. Growing up in the US, but from an immigrant household, it was fascinating to see the contrast between Chinese culture, which is a collectivist culture, which is about the group being greater than the individual. That so much of what you are taught is your individual efforts serve the greater good. It is for your family, for your community, for the Chinese population. In the US, it's so individualistic. It's about what you want. It's about what's good for you. And that isn't to say people don't honor their families and care for their families, but the general cultural narrative is around self-reliance, doing this on your own, building something yourself, pulling yourself up by your bootstrap. Like it's all about you and your independence and a lot of like being kind of doing things solo. What doesn't change though in both cultures is that when it comes down to our foundational needs, we realize we need other humans. We're seeing this play out in protests around the country right now. We're seeing this play out in communities where they feel like they are under threat currently by law enforcement and the government. You see communities band together of all political backgrounds, all cultural backgrounds, across language barriers, across race, across class, because they viscerally feel that their communities are under attack, that they are under attack, that when their neighbor is under attack, it affects them. It affects the peace of their neighborhoods. It affects their ability to live their lives in their neighborhoods. To see ICE agents crawling across their supermarkets and their big box stores. See ICE pulling people out of their homes and out of their cars. To see cars left running in the street because someone has literally been kidnapped from them. When it viscerally hits you, most people feel no choice but to do something because it is your life being affected. And sometimes, unfortunately, we need to see that kind of visceral impact in our face. We need to feel it emotionally and physically for us to feel like, oh, this is our problem. Most of us don't live in isolation. Most of us connect to certain people across friendship lines, cultural lines, or vicinity lines. And right now, people are feeling it because of vicinity. And it's unfortunate that it takes such traumatizing events, such horrific events, people being shot and killed. And people have been shot and killed consistently in our country in the last couple of months just from ICE raids. But the names that you hear will likely be only of American citizens, and the ones that will be highlighted will be white American citizens. There are people that are dying in detention centers, that are dying in detainment, but we don't really hear their names. The names we've heard recently are Renee Good and Alex Preddy. For people to come in and take these lives and to do it under such aggression it requires a certain level of dehumanization. It requires a certain level of detachment from seeing this other person as a human being, as your equal, as someone that deserves love and care, that is a human with rights. When you're caught in that kind of dynamic where one person is treated as an enemy, it's so easy to be like, they are not human like me. And so then I can attack them and hit them and shoot them. For someone to shoot someone and see the car go off behind them, hear a crash, and walk in the other direction and say the words, fucking bitch. That's what the ICE officer said who shot Renee Good. That requires a certain level of disconnection from your fellow human. And tribalism often reflects this. When we get so entrenched with a certain group that everyone else outside of that group becomes the enemy, I can imagine that within ICE, there's this mentality that everyone's against us. We are the tribe. We have to protect the tribe. Everyone else is the enemy. They're less than us. We have to be on the attack. When they're there, actually, they're not there to protect people. But that tribal instinct comes into play. And where tribalism really fucks with the fabric of society, it creates these very, very clear divides across humans. In a collectivist mindset, if you view every human as part of your collective community, it creates more connection. And it creates a really more kind of entrenched barrier to dehumanize them. Because you recognize they're just like you. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to survive. They're trying to be happy. They're trying to figure out a life just like you. But when you can kind of treat it as, oh, they're outside of our group. They're outside of, they don't belong with us. They're over there. They're less than us. It's a lot easier to treat them like shit. And the fallacy of an individualist mindset that we grew up with is this notion of each person is out for themselves. You need to get yours, I need to get mine. And it's a lot easier to feel isolated in that mindset. It's a lot easier to feel like the world is against me, or it's me against the world. I have to do this on my own. I need to battle the inner demons and the outer demons by myself. But fundamentally, that runs counter to what humans need, which is connection, which is community, which is love and care. And so you'll still try to find that in other ways. You'll still seek that out. And so when you find it in a tribe that's potentially really problematic or rooted in hate or aggression, it'll still feel like, oh, but these are my people. I've had friends who've joined gangs since they were little. And what by little, I mean junior high. It started in high school. They would talk about the fact that they're my brothers. They're my people. Because they're seeking that sense of belonging and love, even though they've done fucked up shit. They would mug and rob people. I know someone who actually ended up killing someone accidentally because they were trying to rob them. But you justify these horrific things that you could potentially do because The need for belonging is so strong. The desire to be connected, to feel like you are part of something greater is so strong. And in an extreme way, I can imagine that's how, to a degree, like people who are within ICE right now feel. The money is nice because they're offering so many financial incentives, but also this sense of higher purpose, higher calling. And if you believe in the things that you're told around why you're doing this work, not that you're dehumanizing 5-year-olds and kidnapping them, not that you're potentially killing people in the streets, not that you are violating people's civil rights, but that you are saving the country, then horrific things can be justified under that wrapper. That's an extreme example. But if we think about it in our everyday lives, how many of us live lives that are not aligned? Whether it's the line of work that you choose, but you tell yourself you have to for XYZ reason, because of the mortgage, because of my kids' futures, because of the identity and persona that you've crafted that you feel like this helps you fulfill and you can't give that up. Because this is just how society is, and this is the system that we all work in. We all have to make a living. How many values and principles do you sacrifice in some of those choices to prioritize what you think is survival? And this happens in our relationships too. Things that we believe are important, that we value, like our self-worth, self-love, honor. When I was younger, I've stayed with people in relationships far longer than I should that violated my self-love, my honor. People who cheated multiple times. But I saw something in them that I'm like, you have so much potential. You're such a good person. You could be so much better than this. And you stay with people for potential. But it overrode my love of self. To have something like that happen, to have trust violated, love violated, honor violated, and then stay with them anyway because of my own desire for love and care. That sense of lack and maybe the fear that I couldn't get it elsewhere, that no one would love me better, that if I lost this love, I'd have to start all over again, that it was worth staying through. And sometimes it is. I'm not saying someone cheats that it's never workable. But it's happened often enough where I'm like, this is third time, fourth time. Like, what the fuck? Now I know I should have gotten out then because it violated so many things that were important to me. But something kept me there, this sense of safety and belonging, even though a lot of other safety things were violated. But being with someone, our desire for connection is so strong. It can really mess with us. But if we look at what matters in our world, to be able to see each other as human, to not dehumanize, to not think of people as others, as less than, even as foreign or alien, those words all create division. It doesn't allow us to see that we are all deeply connected, that we're all here trying to live a life. And I am not getting into the legality of how, specifically in the context of immigration, how someone is here and someone is not. That's not the core point. Because the names I named about people that have been killed were U.S. citizens. But the concept fundamentally connects to all of it. Is how we treat each other, who we see as worthy of our care and our love and our connection. And there definitely, collectivism is not a perfect model, because there are definitely ways that, and I experience this firsthand, in which collectivism can be very harmful. And for example, in Chinese culture, there's this notion that your individual life should serve your family. You should do what is best for the family at all times. Who cares about your individual needs, dreams? What's best for the family is this, and it's also hierarchical. So if your parents say you should do X and you don't do X, that's where you are being disrespectful to the family. So there's fucked up ways in which it exists. But I'm just talking about the core principle that we are all connected, that we all affect each other. And the more people you can bring into that umbrella of understanding, the more people that you can see as you being connected to, whether it's a homeless person who lives obviously an entirely different life than you, who hasn't showered in days probably, who's freezing, who's of a different race, maybe doesn't speak your language, maybe, is clearly of a completely different socioeconomic class, has a different historical background than you. But if you see them as you being connected to them as well, you can't help but care for their suffering. You can't help but walk by them and be like, God, what can I do? Because you're sleeping in the street, and right now it's 12 degrees in New York right now. What can I offer you? Even if you're in a rush, because your humanity calls for it. When you don't dehumanize other people, even in the smallest way, it allows you to stay connected to the collective, to recognize that your humanity is their humanity and vice versa. That you nurture your humanity by stopping to say hi to that person and asking them what they need and saying hello. And even if you are in a rush, to say hello and acknowledge their humanity, to just share a smile. I carry change with me. By change, I mean just now singles. I carry singles with me, or $5 bills, so that I can give them out, because I don't carry cash otherwise anymore. This is where the more that we can see each other as connected, the more that we can tap into our ability to love and feel compassion for other people, and thus ourselves. And often it starts with ourselves. Your ability to show love and care for other people is going to be connected to your ability to love and care for yourself. And the more you can expand your capacity to love yourself, the more you will be able to extend that outside of yourself. When I look at these ICE agents, when I look at our politicians who speak so horrifically about humans, who can call someone who is a peer, a colleague, a pig, I recognize how little love they have for themselves. How unable they are to love themselves. Because that is the only way you can treat someone with such disdain. Because you have such a capacity to feel disdain for yourself that you can do it to other people. No one who loves themselves deeply treats other people like shit with that level of consistency. And if you have a bad moment, we all have our bad moments, you repair. But someone who does such aggressive, hateful action consistently and does not repair is deeply lacking in self-love. And that's how I can feel deep compassion for these agents that are out in the street. But feeling love and compassion for them does not mean condoning action, does not mean I won't go out into the street and protest. It just means that I recognize like how much they are dehumanized, that they feel dehumanized, that they have dehumanized themselves in order to do this to someone else. And I feel deeply for their souls. But they are not my people in action. I can feel that for them and recognize they are part of our collective and they are deeply in need of healing. But those are not going to be the people that I band with. The people that I band with, the people that I'm going to get behind, the people that I'm going to go out and fight for are those who are trying to live a good life, who are just trying to do their best, who show up with care and love and compassion and honor. Those are the people who I want to stand with and who I will go out to the street and support. And standing up for what we believe in has a risk. There can be a cost. I've led protests. I've organized protests. I've been a part of protests. There are costs. But what we believe in has costs, has risk. Fighting for those things has risk. In our everyday lives, on a personal level, whether that risk is rejection, whether that risk is failure, whether that risk is abandonment, those are personal costs. Societally is no different. And if you can understand these concepts and apply them from a macro to a micro lens, from a societal to a personal lens, from your outer world to your inner world, you'll be able to see the world so much more clearly. Because we are taught to divide across too many intellectual lines, too many lines, whether race, culture, class, immigration status, citizen, law enforcement. There are too many divides that are artificial, that are man-made, human-made. And when you remove those, life becomes very simple. We are all trying to live a good life. And some of us are trying to live in a way that is true and rooted in honor and rooted in care and support for each other. That is a collectivist mindset that I believe in. And people who also adopt that mindset are those who I will fight alongside. The one that is tribal, the one is all about the individual, that does not serve our society. And that ultimately doesn't serve ourselves. And as you navigate the news, politics, our global landscape, your day-to-day landscape, I hope you'll consider how you can understand yourself in this larger context, how you can relate and connect with people across all backgrounds, and to break down these lines more, that we can care for each other better. Because our society and our world and our communities deeply needs more of us to show up with love and care. Doesn't mean you have to go out into the street and protest. That is an individual risk. That is an individual decision. But just consider how you can show up with a little bit more love and a little bit more compassion for your fellow human, especially those who are the worst off, who are viscerally suffering, that you can see, visibly suffering. And those who are the most oppressed, those are who are most at risk. If you can try and help those people just a little bit, even just with presence, with a smile, show your connection. I fundamentally believe that will make the world a better place. Smile by smile, moment by moment, connection by connection. I hope you'll consider that as you go forth in each of your days.